Okay, so I put together this mock data set that mimics the structure of your data set to do this recording. So I have product in this column, and then I have several metrics going to the right, and then I also have a couple metrics that have a measurement for the right and left. So the first thing we're going to do is work with the non-positional data. So we'll stack the metrics. So tables, stack. I already have the metrics selected. Click stack, and then I'm going to click OK. And now what I need to do is tell JMP that product is a group by before I do an average on the data. And then label is a group by. So that when I take the average of this data, it will be by product and metric. So aggregate and then mean. And now I'm going to subtract the two. So I'll highlight these two columns, right click here, new formula column, combine, and then take the difference. So now let's work with the other the positional data. So I'm going to set aside this for a second, go to my original data table, and we're going to work with these metrics. So I'm going to grab those columns along with the product and the lot number, and I'm going to subset. So I'll subset the selected columns in all rows. And now I'm going to stack the data because I want to save myself some time. So tables, stack, and I'll stack these columns. And now what I want to do is average across each metric. So I'm going to work with this column and parse out the right and the left. So I'm going to use a columns function, text to columns, which allows me to do this parsing. And I'm going to tell JMP that the delimiter is a space and a dash. Click OK. And you'll notice that JMP separates these two. And now I'm actually thinking maybe I should have just done the dash because coding viscosity has two words. So let's redo that. So the delimiter, going to columns, utilities, text to columns, the delimiter will just be the dash, and let's see if that works better. There we go. So now I've got just one column, which is the metric, right? So now what I'll do is delete. That's fine. Actually, I could probably keep this. So I'm going to delete label. I don't need that anymore. And I'm going to relabel this just label because eventually I want to combine this with the other data. So now I need to group by on the product and on the label, which is the metric. And now I'll take the average of this guy. So aggregate average. Okay, so now I've averaged across the position, so you can tell from these left, right are the same. And I'm going to have duplicates if I just concatenate this, right? So what I need to do is delete these two columns. And it'll make sense why in a second. Delete these two. And I'll say remove references because it's saying that this guy relies on a formula column, but oh, let's undo that. Let's try that again. Delete. There we go. So sometimes you have to do it twice for it to say, okay, I'm just gonna grab the value instead of maintaining the formula column. So there's no formula here now. And what I'm going to do is rename this data, right? Because again, we need to have the same columns in order to concatenate this all. So I can use something that's under the rows menu to get rid of duplicates. So row selection, select duplicate rows, and then I'm just going to right click and delete. And now what I can do is marry this with the other table, right? So this guy I can discard because this was the subset that I already worked with. But what I'm going to do is concatenate this one with this guy. And so JMP should recognize that I have label, data, and lot number and product, right? And I have those columns in this as well. Lot number, product, label, data. So I'll just start from this table, go tables, concatenate, and I'm going to concatenate it with this one, I believe. Let's just check. This is why sometimes it's good to do some labeling. So yeah, Untitled 36, and then we'll just call this full data set. Click OK. And now I'm pulling it over here, and now I should have all of the metrics, right? So I'll expand this so we can see all the metrics. And so the ones that I had right and left for were coating viscosity and force, and they're in here now. So I can hit F6 and scroll to those guys. And what sort of happened was I should have probably done this after I had everything together. So let's redo that. So let's delete this. And then what we're going to do is just make sure that this is still a group by. Oh, it changed. Okay. So it changed because it's a new data table. So here's group by. Here's our second group by. And now we'll take the average. And now we'll do the subtraction. So now this is the data, the difference that we want to compare. So we can go to Analyze, Fit Y by X, and I don't have that grouping variable, right? But you would put this variable here, and then the groups that you want to compare here. And then the label is the by, because our label is the metric. So maybe what I'll do is I can create a column that does that. So this would be, I forgot what you called it. It was like something production type or something. And then we can just generate some random data here to mimic that. So I'll do random category, and we'll say 1% is production. Or this was control maybe. And we'll just call this test. And then else control. Or yeah, control, that's fine. Just to demonstrate how you do the t-test. So now I can go to Fit Y by X, put this metric here, put the production type here, and then it's a by label. And then we hold down the Shift Control and do the t-test, and that will do the t-test for everyone. File, export, PowerPoint, save the PowerPoint, and then the PowerPoint should open. And you get the outputs. So it looks like you get the graph and the t-test information in separate views. Okay, so the one last thing I'll show is the other way to do the Fit Y by X. So I'll recall to bring everything back, but I'm actually going to remove the label. I'll show you why. So do this, and now this has all the metrics in it, which makes no sense. But what we can do is bring in the local and filter on label, and then we can bring in the t-test. And this just allows you to do everything in one view. So when I select this, this is for this metric, next metric. So it just kind of lets you do this all in one view. So sorry this was a little bit fast, but I wanted to kind of squeeze this in before my next meeting.